Bobby Gomes, what is up? We are heading into week 7. It is the Football Diehards Wednesday show, our early week preview. How did last week treat you? It was kind of a weird one. We saw 2 weeks ago there were like a ton of players getting near 50 points, going over 40. Last week it was like Stephon Diggs and nobody else. So how did it treat you?
All in all, like it was fine. It was a fine week. I've been like concentrating on WC qualifying, and I think I made a good pivot off of Cooper Kupp to Tyreek in that, and the rest of my lineup, like my pivots, my two other pivot. I think I just overdid it with pivots. It's made one too many.
Yeah, I actually saw the Tyreek will be limited news and like pulled not entirely off of him, but pulled way back. Probably cost me a lot of money.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just a way to kind of differentiate. I think he only needs one. So.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is like I think he got like a very limited snap count, but the thing is like Tyreek doesn't need that. So I think that was kind of especially the amount I pulled off him was probably not optimal, obviously.
Yeah, that was my thought process, was like he doesn't really need much.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was like the correct process, I think, in theory, and played out on the field. So good for you. Let's hop into this week's slate.
Yeah, we could hop right in.
All right. First game I have on my schedule here is Oakland Raiders versus Green Bay Packers. Oakland is a 5.5-point dog. It's actually come down from 6.5, and the total is stuck at 46.5. What are you doing with this game? We've got Green Bay. Their wide receiver core is like just really banged up. But the thing is, definitively, we don't know anything yet, as far as I know. So it's really tough to make any decisions early. And then the Raiders just don't have a high implied team total, so it's kind of tough to back many of them. So what are you doing? I guess we'll start off with Green Bay.
Yeah, with Green Bay. So the other night, Aaron Jones was pretty much chalk. He busted for Jamal Williams at 7,100. People probably won't go there. I don't hate it in tournaments for Aaron Jones, 7,100. Definitely not playing Williams. And Adam Lazard, I think his name was, at 3K, just with the target share that he saw. I think he's interesting at that price. If we get word that it's going to be like similar usage. He had a big fourth quarter. I also really like running it back with Darren Waller this week, 4,700 in this game. So that's pretty much where I'm kind of thinking on the Oakland side. Josh Jacobs got a big increase in his role. They're coming off the bye too. I think he had like 25 carries or so. So he would be another guy that I'd be interested in at 5,000 on the Oakland side.
Yeah, the thing with Jacobs for me is that he hasn't gotten like a ton of receiving work yet, but he did that in college, so I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that he could do that. It's just like, I don't know, it's hard to project that having not seen it yet. I love the Darren Waller call. I think we can easily expect Austin Hooper, who is like over 50% owned in all the double ups, and Hunter Henry, who absolutely crushed and they didn't price up, to just dominate the ownership at tight end. Whereas Darren Waller is actually like one of the most used tight ends in terms of market share. So he's probably a good pivot. Aaron Jones, I'm honestly like, he's never been a workhorse back. And then as soon as Jamal Williams comes back, they get him right back in the game. Probably not playing a ton of him. Devontae Adams.
That wouldn't have happened if he didn't. So like it looked like he was going to be the guy in that game, but then he fumbled and then he dropped a wide open touchdown pass.
He ran so cold.
Yeah, he probably ran as like not pure as you possibly can run.
Yes.
After running as pure as he did. So yin and yang effect, I guess.
Yeah. Like cartoonishly like large fumble, like popped out and shot 5 yards ahead, and then doinks one right off his face in the end zone. So yeah, probably not as bad of a play as if you watched him last week. I do think so Geronimo Allison still in concussion protocol, I believe. And Devontae Adams last week seemed like he was like, yeah, this just doesn't feel right. Like he was very negative. Like, and players are typically optimistic about, like players are typically trying to be Saquon Barkley, where they're like, yeah, I'll come back from broken legs in 2 weeks. He was not optimistic about his chances of playing last week. So I don't know if he's going to be ready. Don't know if Geronimo Allison, I think we can expect at least like, obviously like Lazard was pretty darn good last week, but we can expect a decent share of like the targets and air yards for him. So if both those guys miss, and especially if like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I don't know how much he practiced this week. I'm guessing he's going to play, but he could be limited because he missed some of the game last week. Like Lazard really has a good chance of getting a large share of this team's targets and air yards. So I think that's something to watch out for throughout the week for sure.
Yeah, Lazard could end up being in cash games.
Yeah, no, like if we get Devontae Adams and Geronimo Allison ruled out, I think he's 3K or 31.
Yeah,
One of the two.
if Allison's out with Adams, he's probably a lock, free square in cash.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. It's just something I'll have to wait on the news on. But like, if both of them are out, just load it up. Like, there's no reason.
Too. He didn't look bad. Like he looked.
No, he legit looked like good. Like it wasn't just like Auden Tate looks bad. He's slow and big and like doesn't make the most of his targets. Lazard actually looked good for what it's worth.
Some pretty good coach speak on Auden Tate the other day.
Well, it's a shame because he's bad. Let's move on to the next game. We have, the marquee game of the week for sure, a 54.5 point total between the Rams and the Falcons. The Rams traveling to Atlanta, and they are 3-point favorites after getting just drubbed by the 49ers. I don't know, how willing are you to go back to the Rams after, like, they've clearly disappointed. It's just, are they more disappointing than the Falcons are bad?
Well, I love disappointment, but no, I'm joking. I don't like Jared Goff on the road. It's like playing Xbox with the controller unplugged. McVay just can't tell him where to throw because it gets so loud. The only Ram I like would be Cooper Kupp, and even at 7,400, it's pretty priced up. Maybe this is just my own personal recency bias, but not really on too many of these Rams. I can see myself rostering like Brandon Cooks in tournaments at 5,400, just because he's in a dome and has pretty good home road splits. Darrell Henderson showed some great explosion, but until we see more of it, like, I don't know if I'm necessarily ready to go there. Gurley at 6,400 is tempting, but he is Todd Gurley. Like, I would like to play him. So that could be that will be a decision point, but I think I'd probably stay away, ended up staying away. And Atlanta, on the Atlanta side, like, this game's so highly totaled, and I just don't love it. Like, Julio, yeah, 8K, like Freeman 5,400, like those guys are fine. I think this game's going under, so I'm not really as high as everyone else in this game. I'm gonna let everyone take guys from this game and just move on to a different game in terms of like my core plays. I'm not playing Jared Goff in cash. A lot of people have talked about that.
Yeah, I don't want. He's 6,200 on DK, and Matt Ryan is 6,300. Matt Ryan has hit the 300-yard bonus in every game. Like, why would you not spend $100 more? Like, that just baffles me.
Yeah, I don't even want to play Ryan. I think both of these teams are bad. This Rams defense is good. Like, it isn't a good matchup. Like, Matt Ryan at 6,300, I wouldn't even play him. He's gonna not hit the 300-yard mark eventually. This will probably be the week. Like this, I just think this total's too high. Maybe.
I mean, if you are confident in betting the under, I think you're gonna end up having a lot of very contrarian builds. So like, this is probably a week to like at least go in heavy on tournaments, because like I expect this to be easily the most. Like, Austin Hooper is going to be one of the most popular plays, depending on how people feel about Hunter Henry. Julio Jones finally bounced back last week, but he's still not seeing like dominant target share, dominant air yard share because of how much Hooper, even Devonta Freeman are getting involved. So at 8K, like, I think they're a better place below him. And I still think people are going to go back to the Cooper Kupp well. So if you're betting the under on this game, like, you're going to have some pretty contrarian build, I think.
Yeah, I wonder where the sharp money is. I'll just pull it up right now.
For the record, I still think Matt Ryan going against a pretty soft Rams defense is a good cash play, especially if you're thinking Jared Goff. Just go Matt Ryan instead. Like, the Rams
soft
defense
with or without Jalen Ramsey, though. So we have there's a little wrinkle in that
who cares?
Situation now. So
like,
I can't pull up the total for whatever reason.
Like, can Jalen Ramsey possibly, like, I don't want to say shut down, but like play good defense against Julio Jones? Yeah, but like, does that still make up for the rest of the defense not being able to cover Calvin Ridley, Austin Hooper, and apparently Devonta Freeman out of the backfield is a thing? So, yeah,
I get it. I just think they can get a good pass rush on Matt Ryan if you can slow Julio a little. But they haven't been great in terms of the pass rush either. So, but
no, just one more thing to talk about. Malcolm Brown considered day-to-day, and Todd Gurley still in the injury report. I think he's a limited participant in practice. So that's just something like we truly just don't know. Like, Malcolm Brown, I don't know, probably 50-50 to not play. If he doesn't play, let's say Malcolm Brown doesn't play and Gurley does play. What are you doing? I think I am looking for ways to get Darrell Henderson into my lineups. Maybe just because of how he looked, but I do think that he could take over at least as a pass catcher. If both of them are out, obviously he's just the smash play.
Yeah, 3,500. I think he's a good play. Like, I'm not against that at all. It's just a matter of trying to get him in. Like, we're not getting him in cash. It'd obviously have to be a tournament build, which would mean a game stack. I don't love game stacking this game, even though it's the highest total game on the slate. Yeah, it would, because then for me it would be pairing him with Freeman. Maybe you can roster Hooper, obviously, but I'm higher on Waller. Yeah, I don't know. Like, he makes sense. I don't know if I'll have him if I play tournaments.
Yeah, for me, I like Cooper Kupp in this game. Still, just like the market share of targets he sees, he's still like third in fantasy points. Outside of that, not awfully interested in the rest of the Rams. So I'm warmer on this game than you are, especially with like Matt Ryan and Cash, and probably Austin Hooper as well. But like, I do think there is at least one better game to stack. I'm not sure if I'm betting the under on this game. I just think the ownership is going to skew way more heavily to this game than it should.
Yeah. What game is that? Do you want to get into it? Is it the next game?
It is not the next game, at least on my list. We can talk about it. It is Seattle versus the Ravens. I think both of these defenses have that like marquee name brand value, and they're both actually not that good. Like the Seattle defense, very not good. Ravens defense is just fine. And we've seen Russell Wilson finally being unleashed, plus the fact that Chris Carson, whenever Seattle is a favorite, just dominates the carries. Mark Andrews saw like 30% of the team's air yards and well over 20% of the team's targets, I believe, last week with Marquise Brown. Just like this game has a similar-ish total. It's not 54.5 because we're skipping around. I don't know what it is. I think it's like 50, right around 50. But the volume is so much more concentrated is the thing. Like you were getting a higher percentage of the possible touchdowns in this game by playing these players. So for me, it more than makes up for the 3 or 4 point difference in the total.
Yeah, I get that. That's a really good way to explain it. I think Russell Wilson's definitely in play for cash along with Lockett. And you hit on Carson with the usage that he's seeing in situations where they're favored. On top of that, interested in Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown if he plays. I also think that like stacking these Lamar Jackson, like low dollar, low value Baltimore receivers like Miles Boykin or Willie Snead isn't the worst play in game stacks if you want to do that. I like Baltimore in this game as well. I think it'll be a closer game, but I like Baltimore to cover. I don't like them to win. I think they'll cover the spread. But Seattle hasn't played as well at home.
I did end up finding the game. It is a 49-point total, and the sharp money seems to be on your side as it opened as a 4-point spread in favor of Seattle, moved down to 3.5. So already like paying tribute to your bet on Baltimore there. I just think DK Metcalf seeing an incredible amount of air yards. I think like significantly more than Tyler Lockett, where Tyler Lockett is still the market share of targets guy. Also, they lost Will Dissly. So I think that's just more targets to go around. Some of it will go to Luke Wilson, but like he's just clearly not as good. Like I don't know why you throw to him as much. So for me, it's just easy to buy like a lot of the volume in this game as opposed to going with like Atlanta. You have to play a lot of players to get this like the same share.
No, it makes sense.
All right, let's hop back into, let's see, where was I? We'll go with this game. We have Minnesota versus the Lions. Shout out to Minnesota, completely screwing me last week. Such a fun week. Versus the Lions. The Lions are actually
I called that Stephon Diggs, right? I think I said
I don't know.
Diggs on the Sunday show, right?
I hope not.
The week before, Diggs this week.
I was on Adam Thielen 2 weeks ago. I was not on Diggs. Never catch me playing a dude who gets less than 5 targets a game.
I'm like the Vikings wide receiver whisperer.
So what do you have this week? Minnesota, 1-point favorites on the road. A 46-point totals moved up 2 points. I actually didn't know that. Moved up 2 points since it opens. This is kind of moving into a more intriguing territory of games. Any interest? I guess the volume is also concentrated in this one between Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs. Like obviously you're not playing anybody else at like skill positions. So what are you doing with this game?
Yeah, Dalvin, I think, would be the play and be a tournament pivot off of Fournette or Saquon. If Saquon ends up being the cash guy, Dalvin could end up being the cash guy. I think that I like Dalvin a lot in the spot. Snacks Harrison's usually someone I stay away from, but Dalvin's in a dome. He can just break it at any point in time. Like the usage is so concentrated around what he is and what he does. The off receiver of Darius Slay, so if Slay's on Thielen in the slot, You could go to Diggs. I'm not playing any Vikings wide receivers. I like Hawkinson on the Detroit side. He would be the only guy I would be willing to go to versus this Vikings secondary.
I don't mind playing Kenny Golladay. I think he's under 6K and just like the air yards he's seeing and the market share of targets he's seeing, but that would be more of a tournament play for me. I just think there are probably better plays.
Galladay's a good play. Like he sees a pretty good usage concentration. I wonder about Xavier Rhodes, but defense doesn't matter, right? I guess.
Yes, of course it doesn't matter, except for the fact that people are going to say Minnesota can hold Golladay, which like they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think this is another easy game to talk about because we know where everything's going to go. So let's hop into another game we have here. We have, kind of a similar game, Jacksonville versus the Bengals. Jacksonville's a 4-point favorite on the road. Totals moved down a point to 43.5. Leonard Fournette to steal somebody else's joke, he's fat CMC. Like he's just Christian McCaffrey with a little less work and a lot more weight.
Yeah, he's fat CMC. I don't want to play Fournette this week. Like I'll play him in cash.
Wow.
What?
Oh, okay. You're playing him in cash.
This is a really good play. I don't want to play him in cash because I like the Minshew Chark stack. I could see Jacksonville playing from behind in Cincinnati. So I like Minshew Chark in that situation versus Cincy secondary. I'm just trying to make a case to like fade Fournette in tournaments. I'm obviously going to play him in cash games.
Yeah, I was going to say you have to play him in cash right now. He's projecting it
in cash. Yeah, you have cash.
Not always he projecting is one of the best values, but
he seems like the guy that I'd want to get off of in tournaments. And I like their pass game a lot because I think they're going to be playing. They're going into Cincinnati, if they end up playing from behind, I like Minshew with his rushing equity, and I also like DJ Chark, who burned a lot of people last week, and I like game stacking it with Tyler Boyd as well. I think that's a really interesting way to kind of go. You don't seem to like that.
Tyler Boyd just burned me last week, but I still think he's a better player than Auden Tate. It's just very possible that the Ravens saw that and keyed in on Boyd and covered him better than they did Auden Tate because he's not good. I still think it is very reasonable to expect Tyler Boyd to dominate the targets on this team. This is a week 6 eye roll.
Yeah, I like to see. I think that recency bias can be leveraged. I think at 5,600, he makes for a really good tournament option. TY is at the same price tag. TY is going to be the cash option. So I like going to Tyler Boyd with this against this Jacksonville secondary that won't have Jalen Ramsey. I think he's interesting in the game stack with Minshew and Chark or just Fournette if you want to be different in tournaments and roster Fournette.
I'm curious. I won't be doing this. I don't think it's a good play, but yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts. If you're trying to be different with this game in tournaments, any interest in Joe Mixon?
No, because he's Joe Mixon. But I get it. I really do get it. It would make a lot of sense in that Minshew Chark stack, but then I just think I'm doing too much in this game.
I agree. You're putting a lot of your salary space in a game with a 43.5 point total.
43.5 point total, exactly.
Yes. No, I completely agree.
Two-player game stack if I need.
Yes, I completely agree. I think for me, I don't know, Leonard Fournette is such a good play. Cincinnati, not only just a bad team in general, but they also give up the second most receptions and the second most or top 2 receiving yards to running backs, which obviously Leonard Fournette has been doing particularly well. So I think maybe if you want to play, if you're feeling like playing Leonard Fournette in tournaments, run him back with Boyd because he's going to be so low owned after personally.
That's the game. That would be the way to go is if you want to roster Fournette, Boyd just makes you so different.
Yes, because he burned everybody, but particularly he burned me. But I still think he's so much better than Auden Tate that I would absolutely think that he still projects to be 25+% target share, which he is on the season. So yeah, I think that's how you attack this game. If you want to play Leonard Fournette, you kind of have to run him back with Boyd, given how chalky Fournette's going to be.
Yeah, Auden Tate had some pretty good coach speak. I forget what I seen it on Twitter. Something to keep in mind might be a deterrent to rostering Boyd, but I still think Boyd is ready to bounce back.
And for anybody who has questions in the chat, we'll cover all those at the end, just because it's easier for us to not lose our spot. But feel free to keep shouting them out, and I promise we'll get to them. So the next game we have here is the San Francisco 49ers. I believe you called them as your favorite Super Bowl odds, and they are crushing it right now versus the Washington Redskins, who are awful. San Francisco, 10-point favorites and a 41-point total. Because the total is so low, I'm not interested in playing any like receivers on San Francisco. For me, the running backs are both very interesting. Tevin Coleman, I think he's 5,600 this week, with Breed at 53, maybe, just off the top of Ye Old Dome. And both of them got like 18 and 13 carries respectively last week. What are you doing with these running backs?
Not playing them. I know like Tevin Coleman would be someone I'd consider, but especially in a 10-point spread, I don't know. Like, I thought San Fran was a pretty good futures bet at the beginning of this year, and I think that's all the action I'm going to get out of San Francisco until like I just can't find any one of this. The usage isn't concentrated enough, so for me, it's just like a pass. I just want nothing.
I actually think Tevin Coleman's a pretty darn good play. Seeing like average two, obviously it's a 2-game sample, it's tiny, but he is seeing 18 touches over the past 2 games.
Can you risk it in cash though?
No, I almost certainly wouldn't play him in cash. Like,
I get it in tournaments. I want no part of it in cash.
Oh no, I agree. Like, if something happens where they're not running as much for whatever reason, whether it just be like game plan, they choose to attack Washington through the air, like you can beat them anywhere. Why not attack them through the air? Or if somehow Washington keeps it somewhat close and they don't run the ball as much, he's still in a timeshare with like another talented running back in Matt Breida. So no, definitely not in my cash game lineup. But at 5,600, I think he's actually a really good tournament play. Any interest in Terry McLaurin? Because he's the one guy who seems like a viable play. I guess, like, I don't know, Adrian Peterson had an awesome ceiling week of like 20 points.
Yeah, no, the San Francisco secondary has been so good, though. I just can't bring myself to roster McLaurin. But yeah, he's did a lot for people's offense, for people's fantasy teams last week with the 2 TDs in Miami.
Yeah, he won't be doing anything for mine. I'm just so averse to playing players in these low totals, especially against a very talented San Francisco defense.
Don't chase either. Like, don't chase.
Yeah. All right, let's hop into our next game. Houston versus
a good play. We should have went over that. San Francisco.
Yeah, definitely San Francisco is a good play. I think a lot of the ownership will go if you're paying up to Buffalo facing Miami, but like Washington's not that incredibly much worse than Miami. Like, they're awful.
Yeah, and the other thing is people won't. They'll probably be like contrarian spend up because people won't want to pay for a defense coming across country that they can't correlate with a running back.
Yeah, that's another thing is
really correlate with a running back, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, actually, that's a very good point that, like, one, both of these running backs are going to eat into each other's ownership, and 2, it lets you, like, it opens up a very good correlation play with the defense. So that's a good point as well. Let's move into Houston versus Indianapolis. The line has moved from a pick'em to Indy favored by 1, 47-point total. You can start with T.Y. Hilton because you seem to like him a lot.
Yeah, T.Y. is like a lock in cash games at 5,600. He's a great play. I think a lot of people are going to chase this Houston offense. And Indy's defense, just the way they play schematically, they don't let receivers get behind them. So I'd be off a guy like Will Fuller, which doesn't make sense in a dome for me. It's kind of something I'm wrestling with. Do I want to have exposure to him or not? And DeAndre is due for a touchdown regression, like positive regression. Like he's seen like some significantly less looks in the red zone than other receivers within that offense. So that'll definitely change. So I definitely like D-Hop. I don't know if I'd play him in cash. I think I'll play him in cash on FanDuel on DraftKings. I think my play from this game would be Ty, and then in tournaments you can run it back with either DeAndre or Fuller. How are you seeing it?
Yeah, when you said T.Y. Hilton, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then you said his price. I was like, oh, yeah, that's a good play. Just because I hadn't looked at his price yet. Yeah, he's a great play. I think in tournaments it's interesting. We've seen how prone Deshaun Watson is taking sacks. He's taken 18, which is 6th in the NFL for a quarterback. And the Indy D has gotten a decent amount of pressure. They're in the top half in terms of sacks generated. Indy D, run it back with Marlon Mack. Like, that was what happened.
Mac's a really good play.
Yeah, like last week it happened on, I believe it was like a prime time showdown type slate. But if you ran Mac and Indy D, you leveraged all the people playing Patrick Mahomes and that offense, and that was just the Print Fest of all Print Fest, I'd imagine. I didn't do it because I'm stupid, but
I'm trying to do it on the tomorrow nights. It's not going to work. I have a sweat going.
Like Monday, Thursday?
Monday, Thursday, yeah, I'm in like 13th, but I have second most time left. But
Ooh, baby. Yeah, get us a screenshot. Bring it back to us by Sunday morning. But yeah, I think the Mac Indy defense, especially if T.Y. Hilton ends up being pretty popular, will be like leverage on Hilton potentially, but definitely leverage on people chasing Deshaun Watson's back-to-back like 35-point games. Like it was like a 44 and 30-something point game. So I expect him to be particularly popular.
I like that take in terms of tournaments. I think that's good, really good take.
Yeah, I don't like Mac is getting a little more receiving work. Like I think he's had a few multiple reception games, but he's still not the 3-down back that I'm playing in cash. But in tournaments, I think it's a really good play.
Yeah, no, definitely makes sense. And at 6K, I think he's definitely in cash game consideration. I wouldn't like look away from him. I just would prefer TY.
All right, let's hop into another game. Another one of the like marquee games. The only one right now over 50-point total remaining that we haven't talked about. Arizona versus the New York Giants. Arizona are 3-point road favorites. For me, this game, I don't know. I'm not like extremely interested in Arizona's side because like Larry Fitzgerald just seems to have no ceiling. His ceiling is so low, rather. Kyler Murray always in play, but he's finally starting to get priced up. I don't know. It's just like I don't see any great values in this. I guess talk me into anything that you see here.
I like Daniel Jones for cash games. That might be a horrific take, but I think he's a really good play, especially with the outputs that quarterbacks have put up versus Atlanta. He has the rushing equity. I like him better than Goff, to be honest. Total's 49, right? Correlating with him with Saquon is something that you could do. I don't know if that's the way I'm going to go, but he's coming off a broken leg, Saquon, right? Like 8,900, it's kind of tough roster if you don't think he's going to get the full allotment of carries.
The thing is, their backups are so bad. Like, again, they cut John Hillman. I'm not sure Wayne Gallman's status. I was kind of messing around. I said he broke his, like, I think it was like a high ankle sprain, maybe, or a knee injury. I don't know.
So that's better. Like, yeah, like I don't mind correlating him with Saquon. And then, like, if I was going to run it back in tournaments, I would think about using like Keyshawn Johnson or like one of those wide receivers. I just think he was pretty up there in terms of usage last week and time on the field. So I don't mind him. I think that's kind of like a bad play though, now that I think about it, but who knows? I think correlating Giants defense with Saquon is a really good play.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. I thought, obviously when you pull up DraftKings, you go to the position running back. Saquon's the first one there, and we know he's going to be playing this week. I think he logged a full practice day, so he's all but guaranteed to play. Last week Keyshawn saw 5 targets, but they were the classic horizontal air raid offense. They were below. They were right around a 6 dot. I don't know. Trent Sherfield saw 1 deep ball. It's just I don't know. It's really hard to stack any of these receivers that aren't Fitzgerald. And Fitzgerald hasn't, I don't know if he has a ceiling week anymore.
Yeah, I get that. What about Slayton on the Giants side? Any thoughts on him in a fast-paced game?
He got like 8 targets last week and a ton of air yards. If Sterling Shepard doesn't suit up, which I don't think it looks very likely that he suits up as of right now, you can always check up on a Sunday morning at 9 a.m. for the show.
They're getting Shepard back, I think.
Do you?
Yeah, I read somewhere that they were getting Shepard back. But
if they get him back, I don't have any interest. If they don't get him back, I am much more interested because Golden Tate is going to play like exclusively in the slot, whereas like I can see Darius Slayton getting his volume taken away by Sterling Shepard much more so.
Yeah, it wasn't a source that like I really trust. So even though I think it was like the first article that popped up on Google when I was trying to figure out Saquon's status, but I just don't, unless it's from like specific sources, I just don't give any credence to even stuff I get off search engines if they're top priority on search engines for whatever reason. I don't know.
We will be here Sunday morning to talk about this more, but just in the event that Sterling Shepard doesn't play, that is a good. I like that play a lot. So, all right, let's hop into a pretty ugly game. Don't have a ton of interest in it. Miami versus Buffalo. Buffalo's 16.5-point favorites. Total creeped over 40 points. It went up a point, but it's still 40.5 points at the book I'm looking at. I mean, there is one good play. John Brown is a very good play in this game against like the worst passing defense maybe in the history of the NFL. Josh Allen his price has gone way up to the point where I'm not extremely interested in. Right now, he is, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th highest priced quarterback. I don't know. I think Daniel Jones is probably a better point per dollar play because he's just discount Josh Allen, who's discount Lamar Jackson. And then for me, I still think Matt Ryan is a pretty safe as they ever come to get the 300-yard bonus. I know you don't like him, but for me personally, I like him. So I'm not interested in Josh Allen because of his price so much. John Brown, though, you can talk about him because you've been touting him all season and you've been right. So you can hit that.
I don't think I have been right. I think I was wrong. I think I was right the first week, and then I was wrong the next two. Yeah, I like John Brown. I think he's a great play. It's just a matter of, I think he got to rip one off eventually. The air yards are always there. This game's like, do I want to run it back with someone, or I just want it as a runoff? Because I don't know if I want to stack Josh Allen. But then again, if you think about it, I don't think these Miami guys want to tackle Josh Allen. So maybe you could stack Josh Allen, run it back with John Brown, and then run it back with Kenyon Drake. But I definitely don't want to use any Dolphins. I think my best play would be John Brown as a one-off.
No, I completely agree. I think John Brown's a fantastic play in the slate. Is there any consideration for him in cash, given he's actually seeing a decent amount of targets too? He's got a 22% target share on the season, which I think in the past we've seen John Brown still dominate the air yards, but he doesn't get consistent targets. So the fluctuations in his week-to-week scores are expected to be incredibly high. His amount of targets makes me think
he's one of those guys that I like to sometimes use in cash. If there's a wide receiver that's going to be, it's around the same price range and it's going to be significantly low owned. I don't mind one tournament pivot in cash to kind of differentiate yourself a little, especially if you run your cash in tournaments. So if TY's at 56 and John Brown's at 5K, I don't mind that pivot, I guess. I don't know. It's just a matter of just because of his air yards, the ceiling that he could have as opposed to TY and the ownership that TY is going to have. I like John Brown. I think you could use him in cash. What I was saying was he isn't a guy that I roster all the time in cash, but when there's spots that you can kind of make a case that he could be close in points, it's worth it. I feel like sometimes.
Yeah, cool. I was just curious because I think the volume he's getting makes him at least cash viable. If it doesn't fit in your build, I don't think it's a priority, but I think he's viable. So another ugly game. Honestly, maybe even worse. I don't feel as good about any player in this game is the Chargers versus the Titans. Chargers are 2-point dogs on the road with a 40-point total that is actually now, because of line movement, less than the game we just talked about, which is kind of surprising to me. But I guess you got Ryan Tannehill under center. You're not playing any Titans. Do you have any interest in Derrick Henry as a home favorite of 2 points?
I like Derrick Henry. I wish the total had moved differently in this game because I like Derrick Henry and I like running him back with Keenan Allen, little squeaky wheel narrative that they'll definitely try to grease. Or Phillip Rivers will definitely try to grease it with him speaking out after last game. Mike Williams is also someone who's extremely cheap at 4,600 for the usage that he's been seeing last 2 weeks. I think he's eclipsed 75 yards on 4 target. No, there's more. I think it was 5 targets. No, 7 targets, 4 catches, 75 yards, pretty much both games. So yeah, I like Mike Williams. A lot of spots I like, but I just don't want to invest in a game where the total has moved down 2 points.
Yeah, for me, I think I wouldn't be running it back with Keenan Allen. I do think Mike Williams, you're spot on with that. Over the past 2 weeks, Mike Williams has over 200 more air yards than Keenan Allen and significantly more targets.
I love the air yards bank. You love the air yards bank. It's good. No?
I literally I start every day with air yards. I wake up in the morning, kiss my laptop, good morning air yards.
Yeah. Good. That's good.
But yeah, getting so many air yards and Keenan Allen kind of taking a back seat to him, even in targets, which is kind of the surprising thing. You can see, I would have expected Mike Williams on a lot of weeks to beat him in air yards, but to just beat him in raw targets is a bit surprising. I don't know. I'm not playing Derrick Henry. I don't know, especially with the total. It'd be one thing if they're home favorites.
It'd be one thing if the line was moving up. I would this game more. If they had moved 2 points in a positive direction, yeah, I'd like this game a lot because I think it's sneaky for tournaments, but I just can't. I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah, I just don't care to play a game with a 40-point total that much. I think Mike Williams is a fine one-off, kind of in the same vein as John Brown. Outside of that, I am ready to move on to, I don't know, an interesting game because the players involved, but their fantasy points have hardly been there with the Saints versus Chicago. Allen Robinson actually has a crazy high whopper, so it's just targets and air yards weighted together. I think he's a fine play. Michael Thomas, probably less so, given that his team actually only has an implied team total 17.5. That's lower than the Chargers. Like, I don't know. I just, for me, not awfully interested. Alvin Kamara still getting usage, but just like, what is his touchdown ceiling? His team isn't even projected to score 3 touchdowns. Like, you're getting a higher ceiling.
High ankle sprain too, Kamara.
Yeah, exactly. He is questionable to play, even if he does play. I'm not interested. Last week was Latavius Murray's highest game in terms of total touches. And that's not a coincidence. It's because Alvin Kamara came in with an ankle injury and then left with a knee injury.
Yeah. If Breeze played, I'd have more interest in Kamara. I think he's questionable, but
I don't think he's going to play, but I did see he was questionable. If he played,
the ankle sprain that just brings me off Kamara. If it's a high ankle sprain, I don't want anything to do with him. For a running back, like that's an injury like you don't want to deal with.
Interest in the Chicago side. I talked about Allen Robinson. Like David Montgomery has been getting a ton of work, but he doesn't look good. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, David Montgomery getting a bunch of work. Allen Robinson, he's fine. I think Tariq Cohen's interesting. I'd like to see him do something eventually. I think I just keep saying it and just hoping like it'll hit eventually. Yeah, not much interest. What game we have next?
Last game of the slate, because it's another one. I think we have only one less
gamer.
11 gamer. One less buy than last week. So 11 gamer. It is. I guess this isn't even a main slate game. Are we done?
We're done. All
right. We have a bunch of questions though, so we're technically not done. Let's hop into. I'll start with the question section first. Walton or Edmonds PPR. Catch me dead before I play a Miami player. Chase Edmonds. Actually, a decent play. Is highly efficient, which makes sense given the role they use him in. Doesn't get a ton of touches, but if you're choosing between those guys, like very much Edmonds for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. What's the next?
Do you think 100 player contest top 12 win is good for a beginner? This is probably more up your alley.
If it's below $3.
Yeah, that's the thing that I honestly didn't even know before a year ago or whatever, that players who play enough volume get cut off to play contests below $5. And when I play, sometimes I'll literally just enter $5 double up to see the difference out of curiosity between that and my $3 double ups, and it is striking.
Yeah, it's striking. If it's anything above $3, don't go above $3 if you're a beginner. Just stay below because it's definitely a disadvantage.
Brady or Lamar, very clear Lamar for me. He's pretty much a top 2 quarterback on any given slate, basically.
Yeah. Brady or Lamar, it's going to be Lamar for me as well.
All right. I got a question. Boyd has disappeared. Ridley's disappeared. What about replacing them with Beasley and Slayton? So Boyd and Ridley or Beasley and Slayton. I'm still going Boyd and Ridley. The total for Ridley's game, even if you're
Ridley too.
Yeah, even if you're betting the under, it still has a crazy high total. Even if you expect it to go way under, you still expect it to be 48, 49. So Ridley, good play. And we talked about Boyd. I think Boyd is a very sneaky good play.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Boyd's a good play.
What's up with Eckler and Gordon? Do you think Eckler's a better all-around back?
Yeah.
Yeah. We both talk about this almost every week.
400. Yeah. Almost. Wow. He's almost 4 million cheaper too. Yeah, I almost said 400. Legitimately, he's getting 200K for the season, and now when Gordon's getting 4.5 million on top of that. For 5 million. So I don't know.
He's significantly better than Gordon, but I'm not
making 10% of what Gordon's making.
Yeah, but I'm not playing. We didn't talk about them at all, I don't think, but that's because neither of them are good plays. They're both committee backs on a team with a low total. I'm just not playing them.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Both PPR leagues, Sony or Howard, Cooks or Carry On, Sony Michel or Jordan Howard. I'll let you take that one. I'll take the next one. Sony
Michel or Cooks or Carry On?
Sony Michel or Jordan Howard. Then they have another question.
Who's Jordan Howard playing?
They play Dallas.
Sony, but I'd probably go Howard. I'd probably go Howard, actually.
Yeah, I guess I'd probably go Sony Michel. I don't know. I feel like
I think the Jets are gonna beat the Patriots Monday night.
that's a horrible take.
It's a horrible take. It's a horrible take. I think they'll cover the spread.
That's a funny take. I don't mind that. Spreads are so, either side of it is fine. All right, Cooks or carry on. Yeah, no, they're definitely a good team. Like, no, I no doubt about that.
No, they're not that good.
It's
absolutely terrible.
Then why do you think they would cover?
I think the Jets are gonna cover. That's what I think the Jets are gonna. What's it? 10? The Jets will cover that. The Patriots will win by 4 points, 3 points.
In that case, it would definitely be Jordan Howard because, like, Sony Michel, like, dude, even when they get up a lot, he just sucks. All right,
that's why I'd go with Howard.
All right, next question. I don't know if we have any more questions. These are just a bunch of comments. Shepard is still in the league's concussion protocol. It's his second concussion of the season. That's what I thought. I don't think he's awfully likely to play. He's still in concussion protocol, and it is the second of his season, and it's 6 weeks in. So don't think he'll be playing this week. That's all the questions. Just a bunch of comments. Thanks. I appreciate it. We appreciate you hanging out. Eckler's a beast. Yeah, he's better. He's just significantly better.
Yeah.
If you take anything away from this show, don't let it be any of the great DFS advice we have from a former Millie Baker winner. Just let it be that Austin Eckler is so much better than Melvin Gordon.
Eckler's better than Gordon.
All right. Eckler's better than Gordon. That's Bobby Gomes. Find him at Bobby Gomes DFS. I'm Kyle Dvorchak. Find me at Kyle Tweets here. Everybody, we will be live Sunday morning. Still have some news yet to break, basically, with like the Rams running back situation. Sterling Shepard could still play a few other things. Green Bay Packers receivers, probably a big one for cash. So, yeah, tune in Sunday morning. We'll probably have at least closer to answers for all of those questions and more. So, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We will see you Sunday morning.